All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome into Executive Decisions for Monday, August 7th, in the good year of our Lord 2023. Your boy Corey Parson, the Fantasy Executive. I want to give a special shout out to everybody that has supported the relaunch of the Fantasy Executive on YouTube. Everybody that's subscribed as well. I want to thank you. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. Hit that subscribe button. Let's continue to rock and roll. Today I got a couple things I want to come at you with. A little bit of NFL. I want to get to in a little bit. I want to discuss this thing with the 2024 Hall of Fame class over this past weekend. We just saw the NFL Hall of Fame, their annual kickoff weekend with the Hall of Fame game. Season getting ready to start, obviously. The Jets and the Browns out there. And you got the chance to hear from, some people out there tell you about Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson and all of that stuff. But shout out to Darrell Revis, amongst other, my man DeMarcus Ware, B. Ware, D. Ware, Dallas Cowboys. The great offensive lineman from the Cleveland Browns, Joe Thomas, also going in. So, you had Rondé Barber as well. So just a lot of stuff going on. Shout out to those fellas. But there's been a talk about the 2024 Hall of Fame class, particularly circling around Andrewluck, as Andrewluck is now eligible for the Hall of Fame in 2024. So I want to hop in there and discuss that right quick. Also, the Big Ten Conference. Been a lot of talk, a lot of rage about the Big Ten Conference recently. Now the Big 18 Conference and what they look like. People have discussed it from a football vantage point, but I want to get into it and talk about it a little bit from a basketball vantage point, because I think you got a chance to see some pretty good, entertaining basketball when that conference expands to 18 teams in 2024. What else? Oh, yeah, I got some interesting feel-good story about my man Coach Prime out there in Colorado, but I do have to be a little bit critical of Coach Prime as well. But today, I want to start, and I want to discuss the USA basketball team right now getting ready for the FIFA Basketball World Cup. They've been in the news recently because they're getting ready for the FIFA World Cup. And also, Gilbert Arenas was very critical of the team when he was on his podcast, Gil's Arena, talking to Trae Young. Arenas said that, man, I want to get exactly to Arenas, my man Gil Arenas, what he said about this bunch right here. It wasn't really a big fan, was Gilbert Arenas. He says, you see that list Kerr got? A sorry-ass group. Listen, I'm happy for the people who make it. It's cool. It's cool for some of the guys who got there that I don't know. Some of them probably don't even start on their team, Gilbert Arenas said. So Arenas critical of USA basketball and the team that they put together. And I want to hop in here and I want to talk about this. Now, this team that Arenas was critical of when he was interviewing Trae Young on his podcast, Gil's Arena. Shout out to my man Gilbert Arenas doing his thing on these digital streets. But on that team that he was talking about features Paolo Banchero, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, Jaren Jackson Jr., Cam Johnson, Walker Kessler, Bobby Portis, and Austin Reeves. Staff head coach is Steve Kerr. You got Spoelstra, Ty Lue, and Mark Few on the coaching staff as well. Now, to be critical of the team is one thing. So, you see a title, you see a headline, you click on it, you know what I'm saying? Or you can just read the headline. I wanted to go in there and actually listen to the content and see what Gilbert Arenas really said, because I didn't want to come at him the wrong way or, say that something that, misquote what Arenas said. So I went in there and I watched the episode with Trae Young, and he said, listen, basically this is me paraphrasing what he says. There's supposed to be tryouts. See if we can adapt. We didn't get to this level of playing basketball by not being able to adapt. Let me show you what I can do when I'm around other players. Basically, Arenas is saying that there's star players that want to play, but USA basketball could be judging these players based upon their talent, but also the way they play on their current team. And you may want somebody that fits your scheme or your system. Arenas is saying, listen, open the stuff up and see if these star players can fit your scheme and your system. Just don't assume that they can't. And you know what? I really don't have a problem with Gilbert Arenas is saying. Gilbert Arenas is NBA All-Star. He's played basketball. He's been in these positions before. I'm sure he knows what he's talking about. You know what I'm saying? So I really don't have too much of a problem of what he's saying right there. But I also look at it from a USA basketball standpoint. A lot of times we think that we got to take one side or the other when really both things can be true. Arenas is right. And also USA basketball has the right to build a team and the staff. That staff has the right to build a team that they think is best for international play for that specific season. Now, with Trae Young, Arenas was kind of talking about, Trae Young has made it known he wants to be on the 2024 Olympic team. Now, okay, that can still happen, number one. And number two, just because you're not on this team right here does not exclude you from next year. And I think, listen, Young is a guy that averaged 25 and 10 this year. I'm going to get into his game and break his game down a little bit later on, but I want to get back to basically what Arenas was talking about. Now, I think Young does deserve a shot, but Arenas also went on to say that they be doing too MFing much. They be doing too MFing much. Who's doing too MFing much? He goes, I'm sorry. It's that other brand. That other brand, man. They be doing too effing much. Now, Gilbert Arenas and Trae Young are both Adidas guys. Arenas is an Adidas guy. Trae Young is an Adidas guy. Nike is the official sponsor of USA Basketball. So Arenas is basically saying that Nike has a role or plays a part in the selection of the team. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go and do some research and look at, who the players that are on this FIFA World Cup team, what's their sneaker deals. So let's start with Paolo Banchero. He's on the Jordan brand. Does he deserve to be on this team? In an international game, a dynamic young player like this is a matchup nightmare. I have no problem with this. Mikal Bridges is a Nike guy. Everybody loves Mikal Bridges. He's the ultimate team player, knocks down the three, you know what I'm saying? There's so many things he can do. The game translate well to international play. Jalen Brunson is a Nike guy. He's also a better player than Trae Young. Now, Anthony Edwards may be the most recognizable person on this team. He's not Nike. He's Adidas. Well, you can say, okay, well, fantasy exec, he's Anthony Edwards, so of course he's going to be on the team, but it kind of does go against what Gil is saying. Let's continue. Nike is also the shoe company of Tyrese Halliburton, who is on this team. You can say, well, Trae Young is better than Halliburton. Well, Halliburton had 20 and 10 last year, and Halliburton shot 40% from three. Halliburton lights it up. He's legit. You can almost say that I would say that Halliburton is better than Trae Young. You got Josh Hart, who's a defensive player. He's a Nike guy. Brandon Ingram is a sneaker free agency. He's a big man. Jaren Jackson, Nike. Cam Johnson, Nike, also a guy that can go in there and do some things like play defense, hit some shots, a 3-and-D guy, a lot of stuff that other guys can't do. Walker Kessler is Adidas. Oh, Walker Kessler don't belong on the team. Well, he's not a Nike guy. He's an Adidas guy. You got Bobby Portis. You know what he brings to the table physically. And then Bobby Portis is Nike. And then you have Austin Reeves, who, many people will probably say shouldn't be on this team as well. But you already see how he can play. So listen, I don't think the issue is an issue of sneakers. I don't think it's an issue of people hating on Trae Young. But if people did want to hate on Trae Young, he certainly, over the past couple of years, have given people enough ammunition to hate on Trae Young. I mean, let's just be realistic. This guy has came in the league in 2018. He's on his third head coach. Trae Young ran Lloyd Pierce from Atlanta. Trae Young ran Nate McMillan from Atlanta. Now, players have their own personal, fraternities. You don't think coaches have their own personal fraternities as well? You really put two of their dudes out of business in McMillan and Lloyd Pierce. McMillan, it was so bad that he was going to quit during the season. Now, Quinn Snyder's the head coach down there for the Atlanta Hawks. Young saying he likes him now, saying he's glad to be with him. Young's pops tweeted, Quinn Snyder's the perfect coach to coach my son. Hopefully it works. But you've already ran two. At some point, Trae Young, the organization's going to point the finger back at you. Because you see, you complain about being an NBA heel, but you made yourself that way. Not just with running these coaches, some of your on-the-court antics too. You got a little bit of Chris Paul in your game. Your free throw line things, nutmegging people, dribbling the ball between their legs, trying to embarrass them. Yeah, that's in your game, Trae Young. You just didn't become a heel because you got booed at Madison Square Garden. No, that's going to happen. You went on and took that same energy and brought that to Atlanta. I don't want to say Son's a bad teammate, but you're running coaches. So are you really that good of a teammate? And then when you look at your numbers, you shot 33% from three this year. You're supposed to be a sharpshooter. Yeah, I understand 25, 10 assists. That's great. You don't play no defense. You run coaches. You're a liability on defense. And then you shooting the ball 33% from three. You're supposed to be a marksman. Your three-point prop during the season was 1.5. Last year it was 2.5. I don't want to say that Trae Young has hit his ceiling, but before you start pointing fingers, young man, maybe need to look in the mirror. So I wouldn't be too much to say that anything is wrong with this FIFA World Cup team. Is Trae Young capable of making the Olympic team next year? He certainly is, but let's cut it out with all the crying. You know what I'm saying? You want to talk about Halliburton, like I mentioned, Halliburton is 20-10, and he shoots 40% from three. He takes shots more in the flow of the game. You can see why somebody would prefer Halliburton over Trae Young. Young even said in the interview, I'll come out there, I'm willing to pass and set people up. He knows that he jacks it up too much, and that could be what the problem is with his game. And maybe that's not why he's going to be there. So, listen, I still think Trae Young has MVP talent, but we need to make sure that Trae Young has not hit his ceiling. Hopefully, that is not the case. Once again, thank everybody for rocking and rolling, subscribing. Make sure you hit that subscription button if you haven't already. Give us a like. Also, want to know your comments, Young or Halliburton. Who do you think is more deserving of being on the Olympic team? Leave your comments down there in the section that's designed for that. I want to talk about NFL Hall of Fame, 2024 NFL Hall of Fame class. This has been a buzzing topic recently because, honestly, you're getting ready to have a pretty solid list of first-timers, pretty notable first-timers coming up for possible induction next year. On that list is Eric Berry, Jamal Charles. Of course, I would lose the list when I start reading it, but you got some guys on that list. Eric Berry is on that list. Jamal Charles is on that list. I know Antonio Gates is on that list as well. Haloti Ngata is on the list. Brandon Marshall, wide receiver, is on the list. Kyle Williams, the DT, is on the list. The great Max Unger is on the list. Derek Johnson, Muhammad Wilkerson, Britt Grimes, Phil Dawson, the kicker. Doug Martin ain't making it, and neither is Pac-Man Jones. Sebastian Janikowski is on the list. So you do see some pretty decent players. Jordy Nelson on the list. And then you have Andrewluck. And really, Andrewluck right now is the one that kind of stands out the most because Andrewluck's career was on a Hall of Fame trajectory. You could say Luck played 7 years, but he missed a season and half of another season. So really, in 5.5 years of football, Andrewluck was a franchise quarterback coming into the draft. They said he was a generational talent. He definitely was that. He was one of my favorite quarterbacks when he was out there and active. Now, the Colts never built the team around him properly. There was divide on the offensive line, and they got son beat up to the point where he said, I'm not taking this shit no more. And he retired. Now he live off the land or some shit like that. But is Andrewluck a first ballot Hall of Famer? Slow down. Now, I think longevity in the sport is a part of what makes you great. The ability to do it consistently year after year after year after year, putting your body through that. People say Barry Sanders is the greatest running back ever. I say it's Emmitt Smith. Oh, well, why? Because he got the record. Oh, well, if Barry Sanders would have played all those years Emmitt Smith played, he would have put the record to where nobody would have caught it. If was a spliff. It didn't happen. Emmitt Smith showed the longevity. He put up the yards. He put up the numbers. He won the championships. He's the best. Now, Andrewluck, 23,000 passing yards. That's more than Roger Staubach. Roger Staubach played in the damn 60s, right? Other than that, pedestrian numbers, but it's very good for somebody that only played the length of time he did. Now, where Luck is interesting, in really 5.5 years worth of games, Luck threw 171 touchdown passes. I had a fantasy team going to run almost to the overall championship that Andrew Luck was on. He was fantastic in that aspect. 171 touchdown passes is more than Troy Aikman, is more than Joe Theismann, it's more than Archie Manning, it's more than Mike Vick. You know what I'm saying? But when you get down to the nuts and bolts, I don't look at Andrew Luck as a Hall of Famer. He didn't win a championship. He didn't put up super gaudy numbers outside of this touchdown number. Yes, he was on a Hall of Fame trajectory, but I think he got out the game a little bit too early. And listen, that was his decision. That kid was getting beat up, you know what I'm saying? But when you make that decision, you kind of almost trade in your gold jacket. So I don't look at Andrew Luck as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Hell no. No chance in hell. Can he get in a little bit later on down the road? I can see that happening. Now, as far as this year goes, I would say that Antonio Gates is a first ballot Hall of Famer. I would also say that Julius Peppers is a first ballot Hall of Famer. A lot of people don't look at Peppers as this great defender. Julius Peppers was a game changer. He was fantastic. And we all know what a great player Antonio Gates was. Great tight end for the Chargers for all those years, catching them balls from Phil Rivers. Now, I think Haloti Ngata, the D tackle, 3-technique D tackle of the Baltimore Ravens, a fantastic career. You know how good that organization is. They kind of set the standard. I look at Ngata as a guy who could be a borderline first ballot Hall of Famer. But those are the borderline guys. I also think you got to figure out a way to make room for two guys that's not in yet, but I think should be in there. I think Andre Johnson should be in, and I think Reggie Wayne should also get in as well. So that's where I stand right now on the NFL, on the 2024 Hall of Fame class. Andrew Luck is out. Gates and Peppers in. Haloti Ngata are possible. Now, let's talk about a guy who is already in the Hall of Fame. That is University of Colorado head football coach, Coach Prime, my man Deion Sanders. And the other night I was sitting up here watching Deion Sanders' press conference, kind of the start the season press conference, sitting down there talking with the media out in Colorado. And obviously they talk about the conference realignment and stuff like that. Now, I love Prime. I'm a supporter of his. I thought he was a little bit standoffish with the media. And I think he can do that sometime. I know there was a lot of situations about how the final days of Coach Prime and Jackson State went down and some of the antics he did and stuff like that. A lot of people didn't like it. And Coach Prime is generally a well-liked guy. A lot of people want to root for Coach Prime. He's fun to root for. You like what he's doing. People are rooting for him. They're behind him. So when he comes off a little standoffish with the media, I kind of wonder what that comes from. Now, remember, every time a head coach is speaking, even though he may be speaking to a reporter, he may be speaking to a reporter, he's really talking to his team. So I find that interesting as well. But what I really thought was curious what Coach Prime said, obviously, Coach Prime has had some health issues dealing with his foot, you know what I'm saying? He may have lost a couple more digits, you know what I mean? I don't want to speculate. But he's been out and about and, he's dealt with his struggles with his foot right there on the YouTube channel and stuff like that, possible amputations and maybe lost a couple toes and stuff like that. But he's still out there striving. He's still out there surviving and trying to make it. So props to him for that. It's just so ironic that Deion Sanders will be having foot issues when he kind of made his living and his comeuppance. He got his gold jacket because of his feet and his work ethic. But I found it pretty damn cool that Coach Prime said that he wants to and plans to run his team out the tunnel down there in Fort Worth when they kick the season off in week 1, when they faced last year's national runner-up in TCU. So to my man, Coach Prime, and to that Colorado Buffalo team, everybody's rooting for y'all. Everybody's pulling for y'all. Want to see what y'all doing to Coach Prime. I hope you do get a chance to make that happen and run out onto the field to lead your gentlemen out there as you start your career as the Colorado football coach. Shout out to Coach Prime. All right, before we get out of here, man, the Big Ten. Let's not even talk about the Pac-12 no more. It's really just about the damn Big Ten, or the Big 18, as I should call it. And we've talked about what this conference is going to look like for football. You know what I'm saying? Now you get a chance to see USC go to Penn State go to USC. You get Ohio State and UCLA in the regular season. You get USC and Michigan in the regular season. You get Michigan State and Oregon, and all these big time matchups in this 18-team mega conference that the Big Ten has now become. You know what I'm saying? But that's from a football standpoint. This is also a power conference when it comes to basketball. And it's going to be a lot of nights in the fall and in the winter when you turn on, you know what I'm saying, your television provider, and you're going to have massive games, college basketball games, and this all new Big Ten. So let's look at the East Coast Big Ten. Now, this is when they expanded to pick up television markets. This is where you have Rutgers, Maryland, and Penn State. Rutgers gives you that New York market for your cable deal. Maryland gives you that D.C. market for your cable deal. And then Penn State is just the blue blood of the blue bloods. Now, when we hit the traditional Big Ten, you got Ohio State, Michigan, the Rust Belt Big Ten. Ohio State, Michigan, Purdue, Indiana, Illinois, Northwestern, Capital J journalists, Michigan State, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota. And then you get your 4 West Coast schools with Washington bringing you that Seattle market, Oregon, another top 25 market in Portland. And then, of course, you got your 2 big LA schools in California with our Southern Cal and the University of California, Los Angeles. And let's look at these basketball matchups. Now, UCLA and Ohio State play basketball. But now you got UCLA and Michigan, UCLA and Purdue, UCLA going into Indiana. That's a wild scene right there. UCLA and Michigan State. You get USC, Ohio State, USC, Indiana. You know what I'm saying? So USC and Penn State, USC and Maryland. Don't forget about Maryland's basketball history as well. But that's really their only history. You get Washington. Oregon was a team that was in the Final Four not too long ago. So this power conference right here is not only going to be hellacious in football, pretty entertaining basketball conference as well. So listen, to the victor goes the spoils. Shout out to the Big Ten Conference for getting it done. And you have created college sports mega conference that is going to be good for recruiting, revenue, NIL, entertainment purposes, big TV deals, college playoffs, NCAA tournament. So shout out to the Big Ten for getting it done. Once again, I want to thank each and every one of you. Please hit that subscribe button, drop us a like, you know what I'm saying? Definitely thank to each and every one of you for helping us get this relaunch off to a good start. This has been Executive Decisions. I am Corey Parson, your boy, the Fantasy Executive. Go check out some more videos on the page talking about all of this stuff and also getting you ready for fantasy football season coming up. All right, everybody. Talk to you later on this week. We are out.